back, the beguiling, the bedazzled, the bewildering, the befuddling, the bemagical. Made it up, put it in the Merriam-Webster. Annie and Troy, come on out!
How are you doing? Yes? It's hard to follow that, you guys. I don't know how to come out and be all like, yes, when we're crying backstage. Well, we're here for the very last interview for 7 Minutes in Heaven with the Scientists Live. Are you enjoying the research so far? Are you getting some ideas for your own work? Yes? Troy, what do you think of the research so far?
Yeah, it's been amazing, and we've got that classic thing in scientists where we have a diversity of findings, right? And so we always want to care about diversity of findings, like we want to care about all the emotions. But what we've seen, all the emotions.
Did you get over here?
All the emotions. But what we've seen here today is actually really interesting between all the talks. It's not just a diversity of findings, but a diversity of methodologies. Mm-hmm. So we get the classic correlational and experimental with Chelsea Shine. Then we're getting Hannah Shepard, and we're getting networks, and we're getting interventions.
In the field.
Yes, and now we're going to get intersectionality
and ethnography.
And we're going to get all that. And so understanding diversity within fields, all scientists aren't the same, and there are many different ways to learn from them. So I'm pretty excited, and I think it might be time for one last pose.
So are you ready?
Yep, ready? Round
3!
All right. From the University of Houston, Erica Sisek.
Are you ready to get deep real quick?
So ready.
Okay. What are you passionate about?
Okay, so two big things: strategic communication and social change, just like everyone else in the room, right? My journey starts, though, in 2010. I had been in advertising, public relations. I was a quantoid, okay? I was crunching data, but not finding real meaning in the things I was doing. So I decided to pursue something else. So I'm driving cross country with my wife, 2010, starting grad school in the fall. And then in June, July, September, and October, we have a series of young gay teens that take their lives. And those suicides become really public, covered by the media. And then also, we have Dan Savage, a sex columnist and an activist, make a video that goes viral, which results in a social movement, which results in a nonprofit organization. And so that's really the moment that sort of frames who I am as an individual, as a queer person driving across country on this new journey into academia. And so that's really what kind of founded my areas of inquiry right now are social change activism and strategic communication.
So how did those big issues and your big passions for them link to your big research questions?
Good question. So I look at activists, number one, as strategic communicators. So how are social movements, how are people on the ground utilizing tools that we typically deem for stratcom people, right? Tools advertisers, public relations practitioners use, whether it's new media, social media, digital spaces, or also traditional and face-to-face communication. Secondly, I also look at how organizations are functioning as social change agents, right? How are your PR team, how are your advertising, your creative folk, your marketers, your CEOs functioning internally as change agents? So yeah.
And so, you've got the big questions, you've got your focus. How are we going to study this?
How are we going to study this? Okay, so within the body of my particular paper, I did 40 interviews with activists over the course of 4 years, and activists over 15 different countries that are part of the It Gets Better movement internationally and affiliate networks around. So this is 4 years worth of conversations, friendships developed in really different ways than the previous scholars that talked on stage. My research is much more ethnographic and qualitative and critical and cultural in nature.
Mm-hmm. So you did this ethnographic study where you follow these activists, 40 activists over 4 years. And what did you find after following them for quite some time?
Yeah, so I have two sort of main findings, okay? Number one focuses on the activists themselves. Activists are utilizing global energy and transnational movement power in local ways that have global reach and global energy, but in ways that really locally resonate. So let me give you two examples. In Latin America, the activists I spoke with utilize the messaging from the movement that they're engaged with to get on reality television shows wearing t-shirts of the organization that they work with and promote, and as well as getting characters from telenovelas to produce content for them in spaces that are really religious and really masculine and sort of patriarchal spaces to challenge gender norms and homophobia. And then number two, organizations like Frito-Lay worked with the It Gets Better project to make a rainbow bag of potato chips, or sorry, rainbow Doritos that they sold for $10 a bag, and all proceeds went back to the organization. Within 24 hours, it was sold out, and it was the most successful product launch to date for Frito-Lays. So we see those two energies working synergistically, right, on an international, transnational, global, as well as sort of local base.
Damn,
girl.
Whoa. So we see activists as strategic communicators having an impact on culture through, popular media and on corporations. Mm-hmm. What does that mean for the people in this room who want to take the power and influence of these activists and use it in their work?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? So, like you guys, I'm passionate about social change and strategic communication. And so what does that look like for us? Oftentimes, organizations want to move the needle on the conversation, but they get it wrong sometimes, right? And I think most recently back to, we were talking about the Kylie Jenner ad with Pepsi and how wrong that, Pepsi got that. And I'm thinking about Dodge and the Super Bowl and how wrong that went, right? But you want to get it right. So here are 3 ways to get it right. Number one is make sure you make a space at the decision-making table for activists, okay? What does that look like? If you're working at HealthCom, it means bringing your activists to the table and participating in the message creation and the message design, okay? Number two, it means listening and not talking. It means surrounding yourselves with people not like yourselves, reading publications that you're not familiar with or that are not in your sort of media repertoire. And it means, number three, being a spoke. Rather than recreating the wheel, be a spoke in the wheel, okay? I thought of this metaphor when we were on the phone together. But the idea is that there are coalitions that already exist. There are people that are doing the work that you are already interested in. Join forces and be part of that. And the It Gets Better movement is a great example of that. That started in the United States, in LA, but people and youth got involved and saw energy in that in their respective countries all over the world and harnessed that value and brought it locally and had resonance in their local communities. Yeah.
So thinking of all the change makers, you've already got on many things that they could do differently, but what's one more thing that you wish change makers would be doing differently?
Sure, this is my punchline word, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to bring an intersectional approach to the work that you do, okay? I want you to get as excited as you do about design thinking and framing and message design, but I want you to do it about intersectionality. What does that mean? It means considering the multiple overlapping, intersecting, and often contradictory identities that your various groups that you serve bring to the table. It's thinking about them as complex beings and not just demographics, right? What does it mean to be black and a woman and a lesbian and disabled, right? What are all of those identity categories? How do they impact the work that you as strategic communicators do on behalf of your audiences?
And it's really that thinking. It's not like you actually need to know that every single one of those things.
Absolutely.
When you get in this situation, you have to think like a designer.
Exactly. Yeah, and think intersectionally.
Yeah.
I'm making you hot.
Damn, girl. So what are you doing next?
What am I doing next? So I've got lots of projects, but I'm working on a research trajectory that looks at the movement of activists to a target market to then become sort of a key public audience. And so I'm looking at and doing a book project on that right now for my next sort of line of thinking. Yeah.
Can I get a copy?
And I'm making a baby. My wife is pregnant, so that's also helpful.
Yes!
Yeah, we're clapping for the baby.
I'll take your book, not your baby.
Yeah, I have another one. You could have her.
Great.
Okay, yeah. So I'm busy, but I want to talk, so ask me questions. I know a lot of you did last night at bars and stuff, so.
Erica Sizek, everybody. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Write down your questions for Erica. You can ask her them tomorrow, and you can ask them to her tonight between Liz's set, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Very good. You know, I can't, Doritos, so Doritos makes this rainbow Doritos. It's the most popular Doritos ever. Did you see their latest stunt? Lady Doritos? Okay, okay, are you ready? So they made, I think it's called male tears flavored Doritos. I don't know. Literally, they made a Dorito because women are embarrassed to crunch loud and lick their fingers in public. I am not shitting you. Google Lady Doritos later, and we'll talk about it tonight at my show. Lady Doritos, the biggest fail in the planet. I can't even. Gendering Doritos. Is there anything worse besides gendering everything else? But I know. So this next speaker, I grew up in Minneapolis, which is a town that is so warm and welcoming and nurturing of its artists. It's like a really great place to be from because it's this place where every weirdo from a small town came to meet, you know, when like this predominantly white community says Prince is our hero and Prince says, I love this town. Like it's a really good place to be from. And you can tell a lot about a city by how it values its cultural community, right? And so the next speaker coming up is literally the chief storyteller of the city of Detroit. The mayor of Detroit created this position, which I love so very much. And part of being the chief storyteller of a city is that you manage a news site that's called theneighborhoods.org. He produces content for Channel 21, one of the city's 4 cable channels. And it's all created with the purpose of sharing the stories of people who live in Detroit. I love, and he's also written some amazing books. One is called The Neighborhood Guidebook, the Detroit Neighborhood Guidebook, fair enough. And second, How to Live in Detroit Without Being a Jackass. Please welcome the chief storyteller of Detroit, Aaron Foley!
All right, is this the clicker? It's the middle green button. Oh, it's the middle one. Okay, I practiced with a different one. All right, so I come from a city with depending on where your first impression of Detroit is, it's either a very bad reputation or it's not the whole story. When I was a kid, I would go out of town, and by out of town, I mean the suburbs of Detroit, and people would ask me, do you own a gun? Does everybody in Detroit own a gun? When I was a freshman in college, the movie 8 Mile came out with Eminem. Who's seen it? And a lot of people saw that and thought that all of Detroit looked like, you know, where Eminem rapped in rap battles and things like that. And so I've always sort of carried this this kind of burden on me coming from Detroit and telling people, no, I don't have a gun. I've never been shot. I've never committed a crime, and thousands of people in Detroit have the same story as me. So I begin with, it's the green button, right? Oh, the big green button. There are 2 green buttons, okay. So I begin with a quote from our longtime mayor, Coleman Young. He was the first black mayor of Detroit during a big wave of African Americans ruling larger cities. We must not let the doomsayers and the naysayers cause us to lose faith in our city, in ourselves and each other. Without love and without hope, there can be no future for anyone. What he was sort of saying there was that no matter what point in time, people are always talking bad about Detroit. And it's always people outside of Detroit that have something to say about Detroit. But nobody knows Detroit better than Detroiters themselves. Some of the things you may have heard about Detroit is all of our negative problems, right? We have a high crime rate. We were the murder capital. We fight with DC over that title sometimes. Our poverty, our unemployment, our illiteracy rate, the motor city, right? But we're not really the motor city because we lost a lot of the car factories and we lost a lot of the automotive workers. We have a lot of blight. We are the poster child for white flight in America. We are a city that's 82% black. Our suburbs are complete opposite, mostly white. But now we kind of have this new thing going on in Detroit right now that has cropped up in literally the last 5 years or so. We've got a lot of happy, mostly white, millennials coming to to save our city. You know, every time you look up, can urban farming save Detroit? Can arugula save Detroit? That was a literal headline a couple of years ago. It's an artist's paradise. You know, you just come bring your paintbrush and your spray cans and do whatever the fuck you want in Detroit. The Q Line, if you're not familiar with the Q Line is a trolley in Detroit that opened last summer, and it goes exactly 3.3 square miles from the center of downtown to a northern part of downtown. So the city is much larger than that, but everybody thinks it's so great. So, so how I got to this place as becoming chief storyteller of Detroit, I wrote a book, How to Live in Detroit Without Being a Jackass. I was editor of a city mag in town, and I was doing a lot of freelance writing, trying to explain Detroit from the perspective of someone like me. I grew up in Detroit. I never left Detroit. And yet I saw so many people coming to Detroit and trying to, it's either people who are new to Detroit telling Detroit story, or people who would drop in from other places and then leave and tell Detroit story. But you weren't hearing a lot from people who actually lived here, especially people of color too. So I got noticed by the mayor of Detroit. I'm proud to work for him. And he asked me if I would create a platform, a website and a cable channel. We have 4 cable channels to tell the stories about Detroiters. I come from a journalism background. And what I do is I built a team where we go out, photograph, take video, and write about Detroiters. So what exactly we do is, one, we're trying to help our community learn more about each other. Detroit is 140 square miles. We are one of the biggest cities by landmass, but we are one of the smallest major cities by population. Yet still, we've got an east side of town, we got a west side of town, we got a southwest part, and all of these different communities don't know about each other as much as they should. Our southwest part of Detroit is mostly Latino and Middle Eastern part, so there are language barriers too. But even when I was growing up in Detroit, there's a section of southwest Detroit called Mexican Town. And it's exactly that, is where a lot of the Mexican American population lives. But you would only go there because it's the more touristy part of town, but you wouldn't go explore the rest of southwest Detroit. So what we're trying to do is show people all of these different communities that exist in Detroit. We're trying to create equity in news coverage. One of the biggest issues we've had in Detroit, and not just Detroit, but every major city, has been touched on in some of the other talks, is that our newsrooms in Detroit are declining. We're seeing fewer and fewer journalists that have the capacity to cover a city as big and diverse in Detroit. We also have some diversity issues in our newsrooms. It is hard for a person of color who's grown up in Detroit to get a job in a Detroit newsroom. The old thing was, you know, leave Detroit, do your time in a couple other cities smaller than Detroit because we are a major news market, and then come back. But the opportunities are getting smaller because there are fewer opportunities to get into those newsrooms, and it makes it that much harder for people of color. So what happens is a lot of the coverage about Detroit tends to focus on what? Mostly white sometimes, mostly suburban coverage. And so you're losing out on a lot of different stories about our immigrant communities. our LGBT communities, our Muslim communities. We, typically in the past, we check in on the Muslim community around Ramadan. We check in around the LGBT community around Pride Month, and we never talk to them again. So, and the other thing we're trying to do is flourish the city's narrative, not control the city's narrative. So I work for the government. I do news for the government, and put news and government together, what do you get? Propaganda, right? So when I took this job, it was very new to a lot of people, and of course I took this job after our presidential election, and the P word was at the top of people's minds, and people are just like, oh, you're just trying to spin the Detroit story, you're just trying to conceal what's really going on in Detroit. And I'm like, no, I cannot change personally a lot of things going on in Detroit. Our crime problem, I leave that to our police department. Our unemployment problem, I leave that to our workforce development department. What I try to do is try to fill in some of our news coverage gaps so that we learn more about each other as a community. So we have a website, theneighborhoods.org. In Detroit, the common question is, I see a lot of things going on downtown, but what's going on in the neighborhoods? I wanted this to be the answer to that question. And so we write. We write stories about people in Detroit. None of these people have a platform. Back home, our local billionaire, Dan Gilbert, he's the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Literally since the time I landed here in Florida, and now he's bought 2 more buildings downtown. So literally the Comerica Bank building and the old police headquarters announced today. So, but people like our Dan Gilberts, our Mike Illiches, our Maroons, are typically white, male, wealthy entrepreneurs in Detroit, get the glut of media coverage. I'm looking for the people that don't have a platform, and I want to put them on that same platform. So the woman to the left, her name is Roxanne. She works in the front desk at one of the new apartment buildings, and she bought a house in Brightmoor. And Brightmoor is a neighborhood that, growing up in Detroit, has such a negative reputation. It still does. But people are buying houses there. People are renovating that neighborhood over there. And she was in a situation with her boyfriend where she was abused. After we wrote about her story, after she talked about how she built this house on her own, renovated this house on her own after watching a bunch of YouTube videos, she got invited to speak at women's conferences. She started doing a lot of talks around town. And this is, like I said, we found her, you know what I mean? We found a young gay couple that moved from the suburbs to Rosedale Park because we wanted to show, like I said, I didn't want to just focus on gay people during Pride Month. I wanted people year round. We're in the South. I feel like we all know what chitterlings are. So, but this business makes $100,000 a year selling chitterlings online, and people don't know that. So we decided to talk about that. We also want to talk about some of the things that the city is doing outside of downtown. So a lot of the narrative downtown is kind of fueled by your Dan Gilberts and Mike Illiches and things like that. But talking about our grant-making program, or talking about some of the development going on in the neighborhoods, or how to get people jobs, pointing people in the right direction as far as here is what the city is doing for you. But most importantly, I just want to show the people I grew up with, the people I see every day in the neighborhood I live in, the people in the marching band, these kids at the roller rink. These are all screenshots from one of the videos that we've done. And I hired some really good videographers too. Like, they have documentary making backgrounds, and we're sort of redefining what public access television is too. So we're not just doing, like city council meetings and things like that anymore. We're trying to take public access to the next level with this as well. Showing some of our Muslim communities, showing that some of our immigrant communities, our urban farming communities, all with the goal of getting people to learn more about Detroit right now. So we believe now is the time for you to let go of some of those preconceived notions about Detroit, to give Detroit a second chance. Again, like, people just kind of have their own idea of what Detroit is, but like I said, you have to actually get to know Detroit on a more molecular level so that you can really understand it. To learn more, and last but not least, respecting who's already there. Detroit is 680,000 people who never left the city. Mostly people of color, mostly people who may be marginalized to some degree. Their stories matter just as much as anybody else's. And we need to start listening more to them. And we don't want to miss out. You know, everybody has a story, and I don't want to miss out on any of those stories. So now's the time to learn more about Detroit. Now's the time to make Detroit's story heard. Thank you.
You know, every time I come to Frank and every time I go to a convening, especially with communicators, the number one thing that people talk about is listening. And to be the people who are giving the messaging and listening, it's just like, I think the disconnect happens a lot where you don't listen enough. And when you don't listen enough, you're not a great communicator. So listening and talking, yay. It's time for a little play. Michael Tran is going to come up, and then we're going to have a little play break. It's just a little 5-minute play break. Stay in your seats. Michael, come on up. Do you need me? You want to run this? Have fun.
All right, so we're going to kind of get ourselves a little bit energized. So I'd like to have all of you just go ahead and stand straight up. Come, stand up. Put your stuff down. All right. Take a look around the room. If you see your high 10 partner, give him an air 10, maybe. See if air 10. Yeah. If you're near enough to him, give him that high 10. All right. Okay. So we're going to play a game called Up, Down, Stop, Go. Okay? Up, down, stop, go. So those are the only 4 things that you need to be listening for. So if I say up, you're going to go ahead and raise your arms up. If I say down, you're going to go ahead and put them down, right? And if I say go, you can go ahead and run in place, all right? And if I say stop, we stop, all right? Just the 4 things that we need to do, okay? All right? So we're going to get our bodies moving, get ourselves a little bit more energized, all right? So let's start with up. Oh, yeah, stretch it all the way up. Good. Down. Oh, yeah. Good. All right, up. Yeah. All right, go, 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 stop. Go, 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 stop. Up, down, go. Stop. All right, now here comes the challenge. We are going to do the opposite of what I say. All right? The opposite of what I say. All right? Now, when we do this, and if you happen to miss the call, good job, nice try. All right? If you happen to miss the call, good job, nice try. You can go ahead and take a seat. We'll see how long people can stay in the game. All right? Okay. Are we ready? Here we go. Up. Oh, good job, nice try to those who went up. All right. Down. Oh, good, good, good. Stop. Stop. Go. Ah. Up. Oh, good job, nice try. Uh-huh. All right, look at that, look at that. All right. Down. Stop. 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 Go. Stop. Go. Up. Down. Up. Up. Go. Good job, nice try. Do a couple more on your back. We'll do it like another minute, a few seconds in your back. Okay. All right. Down. Go. Stop. Stop. Up. Down. Swearing is absolutely perfectly fine. Go. Stop. down, up, down, down, up. All right, let's give ourselves a round of applause. Thank you.
You shouldn't have clapped because he said give yourself a round. So what happened? All right. I know. I wish I would have gone to the bathroom for that. Super competitive. Go. Oh. All right, that was exciting. I feel sad I'm out of breath, but I feel really good. I feel like now I really want to do the green peas challenge. Like I feel like, oh, in it. All right. I'm so excited about these next two guys coming up. You saw one of them doing the amazing kaleidoscope hands when we opened up Frank yesterday. So beautiful. And that bore out of one of the very first things they did, which they were the Mentos in the Coke dudes. The videos with the Mentos and the Coke, like the OG viral video thing. And now they have created EP Bird, and they're making incredible videos and helping people get messaging out there in a really profound way, doing really incredibly beautiful and engaging work. So please welcome to the stage, Stephen Bowles and Fritz Grove. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey everybody, my name is Steven.
My name is Fritz, and we are experts at doing stupid things. We've made videos with 250,000 sticky notes. We built a Coke and Mentos powered rocket car. We've spent hours finding strange ways to lace up your shoes and turn school supplies into puppets.
We've made videos with companies like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Office Max, and Disney, and repeatedly they've gone viral.
So what's that mean, going viral? Well, going viral is about getting people sharing. It's about getting people fired up enough so that they want to share your video with their friends. And that makes it different, and that makes the techniques different from any form of moving picture ever made. It can have an astonishing impact. Our campaigns for Coca-Cola spiked sales of 2-liter bottles of Diet Coke in the US by 5% twice, and boosted Mentos sales in the US by 15% for 3 years straight. So that's what can happen when you focus on sharing.
So for 12 years, our company, EP Bird Studios, has been using our method to make videos that people want to share with their friends for global brands to help them move product. And then our friend Jody Struve with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Jody's here somewhere today, I can't see where she is, came to us with a question. Can your methods be used by nonprofits? Can viral video be used to help spread messages for social good? Well, for the past year, and over the past year, we've made 2 test videos as part of a pilot project with the foundation to explore exactly that, and the results are really encouraging.
So we made videos for Girl Trek in Washington, D.C., and for NASN, the National Association of School Nurses. And both these organizations have good followings on Facebook, but generally speaking, their messages weren't going beyond sort of a core fan base. So we wanted to see if these techniques could help them go beyond that.
So Girl Trek's goal is to get more Black women out walking together in their communities. So we looked for fun ways to get people excited about lacing up their shoes and getting outside.
So within 24 hours online, 19 dope ways to lace your shoes was Girl Trek's #3 video on Facebook.
And the National Association of School Nurses' goal was to let people see the cool and important and complex work that school nurses are doing these days in schools. So we recorded real audio of real school nurses talking about their work and real kids talking about school nurses. And we combined that with some audio with some fun puppets made from school supplies.
So within 24 hours online, School Nurses Are My Superheroes was NASN's #1 video on Facebook. Within 8 days, each video had more views than each organization's top 10 Facebook videos combined. And in the first month, NASN's message reached about 69,000 people, which is the equivalent of 6 times their Facebook fan base. And Girl Trek's message reached over 1 million people, the equivalent of over 4 times their Facebook fan base. So what we were excited to see was that not only were people watching, they were sharing these videos with their friends.
So how does that work? How do you create contagious content? Content that's designed for people to share with their friends. How is it that you get people to share?
And it can seem like trying to catch lightning in a bottle, but it's not magic. There are really clear, consistent patterns.
Jonah Brugger and Catherine Milkman at the University of Pennsylvania have studied some of what makes people share content online. And one of the things they found is that we share things that get us fired up and make us feel good.
So videos that make us feel sad, emotions that are passive and negative, are generally among the least contagious. Videos that make us feel passive and positive, emotions like contentment, are also not generally contagious.
So content that makes us feel active negative emotions, angry and afraid, that starts to be contagious. But the most contagious of all is content that stimulates active positive emotions. So things that make us smile and things that amaze us. So to get people sharing, you want to get them engaged with strong, positive, active emotions.
And our experiences in the trenches of viral video really bears this research out. To get people sharing, you want to create an emotional connection. So don't just focus on your message. Focus on that connection. Get people smiling, get people laughing, get them going, wow. That can help carry your message to a lot more people. As we did the work that led to our book, the Viral Video Manifesto, we found that to create contagious content, there are 4 core principles that are crucial to understand. First, be true. Don't fake it, just make it real.
Second, don't waste my time. Get down to business right away.
Third, be unforgettable. Show us something that we have never seen before.
And fourth, ultimately, it's all about humanity.
So let's dig into these for a few minutes. Starting with rule number 1, be true. Show us real people having real reactions to real events. So what really happens when you send 250,000 Super Balls bouncing down the hills of San Francisco, as Sony Bravia did in their colorful bouncy balls video? What really happens when you surprise a bunch of drunk girls with puppies? As BuzzFeed did in their appropriately titled video, Surprising Drunk Girls with Puppies. Now, there's that active positive emotion.
You see what you guys are feeling? That's it.
Yeah, that's it. This can be done candid camera style. So you can do it candid camera style, as the Ad Council did for their amazing video, Love Has No Labels. Really beautiful stuff. Or it can be something that you've practiced over and over and finally managed to capture on video, as we did in the extreme Diet Coke and Mentos experiments. But notice, whatever the technique, these videos didn't recreate anything. They just captured the real thing when it really happened.
So a few years ago, a video went up on YouTube with the description, "A magical moment happens on Main Street, USA, when a young man proposes to his girlfriend at Disneyland," registered trademark, said that, "resort." So this video has a lot going for it, but it was fake. There's multiple camera angles. I think there's a crane shot in there, perfect sound, perfect lighting, and the perfect couple. This is a toothpaste commercial. But consider this, about the same time, on about the same subject, another video went on YouTube that was true. You might even remember this one.
Yeah.
This is called JK Wedding Entrance Dance.
This was beautiful. My background is in the circus. So I've seen a lot of great handstands in my life. This is not one of them. But it's beautiful. And these are not the best dancers, but they're real. And we love them for that. Disney's musical Marriage Proposal, with all of Disney's promotional muscle behind it, got about 4 million views, which is great. But JK Wedding Entrance Dance, with no promotional efforts whatsoever, rocketed to over 70 million views.
Right.
So trust the truth. Throw out your script. Just turn the camera on and capture something real.
Our next rule is don't waste my time. So a viral video can be 12 seconds long or it can be 12 minutes long. But either way, our mantra always is nothing but the money shots. If you've got a baby monkey riding backwards on a pig, show us that right away. It's easy to get bogged down in extraneous material. For example, this is a video we made called the Extreme Sticky Note Experiments. And we had over 250,000 sticky notes to show, but it starts with an office scene, and then there's a girl watching, she's a woman watching our video, our old video, our last video, and then the boss comes out, and he's kind of a jerk, and then finally he leaves. And then we see this guy who's not really working, and then there's these guys who are, this is an extreme waste of time, okay? In that video, it's an agonizing 58 seconds before we get to the 250,000 sticky notes we have waiting in the wings. Now, we eventually got to them and got to show some of the fun stuff, and the video did well. It got several million views and won some nice industry awards. But we always knew it could have been so much more.
So what got in the way? Well, story got in the way. And it turns out that unlike almost all other forms of film and video, viral video is not about story. Advertisers, filmmakers, communicators, we're used to thinking of everything as a story because indeed, as we've heard, these stories are incredibly powerful tools for grabbing and holding people's attention. But surprisingly, in viral video, story is a waste of time. Viral video is the 21st century sideshow. So it's all about a quick setup and a big payoff. If you have a sword swallower, show her swallowing swords, don't tell us her life story.
Good things happen when you focus on setup and punch. Just about a year ago, someone posted a bootlegged, edited version of our sticky note video, someone from Azerbaijan no less, on their Facebook page. And what did they edit out? All that story. And this version got 6 million views in a month. And if you look at all the top videos on YouTube, they're not telling stories. They're music videos and novelty songs and crazy dances and a kid biting his brother's finger and a sneezing panda. There's no story in there. So as important as story is to most other forms of communication, and story is really sticky, for this, where you want something to be contagious, don't be tempted by story. Just get to the unforgettable content that you've got.
So like a sideshow act, every viral video has a hook. Something that provokes that reaction, I've never seen that before. And that brings us to rule number 3, be unforgettable. Your goal is to create something that would have a great carnival barker's pitch. So step right up, watch a baby monkey riding backwards on a pig. We were not making that one up. See what happens when you put an iPhone in a blender. Watch Jean-Claude Van Damme do an epic split between 2 moving trucks. And watch tiny hamsters eating tiny burritos. None of these videos are telling stories, but every single one has a great unforgettable hook.
What you want is something no one's ever seen before. So how do you get that? Well, our key strategy is to start with something different and then take it further than anyone else ever has. So a Coke and Mentos geyser, if you've ever done one, is pretty fun. But it was 100 of them choreographed to music spinning in the air in the woods of Maine that became something so unforgettable that it went viral around the world. What you want to do is take whatever it is you're exploring and keep at it until you own it.
So OK Go owned dancing on treadmills in their classic Here It Goes Again. Cleary and Harding owned dancing with their hands in We Know Speak Americano. Each of these videos took something very simple and pushed it until it became something no one had ever seen before. As a result, got millions of people going, oh my God, you've got to see this. So not every video has the budget for Jean-Claude Van Damme, but for instance, for 19 Dope Ways to Lace Your Shoes, what it took was a bunch of time sitting down and coming up with as many fun, crazy, weird, cool ways to lace up your shoes as we possibly could.
So people often come up to us and say, you know what my favorite moment in your videos is? So we're thinking, is it when all those geysers go all at once and they sort of spin in the air like that? Is it maybe 40,000 sticky notes falling like a giant paper waterfall from the sky? Is it maybe when Fritz goes shooting down the Oxford County Speedway on a Coke Zero powered rocket car? Nope. It's none of those. Those are all really important. Those are our hooks. That's our unforgettable content. But everyone's favorite moment pretty much is all the same. It's at the end when we just do this. And that's our final rule in action. Ultimately, it's all about humanity. No matter what crazy stunt we've just done, we throw our arms up like that, and we really are celebrating because, my God, it finally worked. The audience gets to share a little bit in our crazy accomplishment. And we're convinced that including that authentic moment of celebration has been key to the success of our videos. Because neuroscientists have found that emotion all by itself is contagious. So when you see us having that really great moment, the true moment of celebration, you actually feel a little bit of what we feel. And that's the emotional connection that you're trying to create. So when you guys work on your stuff, in addition to your unforgettable content, make sure to include your moment of triumph or real human reactions. Give us at least one real emotional moment to relate to.
From JK Wedding entrance dance to Felix Baumgartner jumping out of a capsule from the edge of space. There's those arms up. Wait for it, wait for it. There's more.
Look at all those
That's
happy
celebration. People. From Chewbacca mom laughing uncontrollably to drunk girls getting surprised with puppies. And 19 Dope Ways to Lace Your Shoes. All these videos show us images of real people and real emotion. And that raw humanity helps create the active, positive emotion that makes us want to share that experience with our friends. So the bottom line is this: viral video, creating contagious content, it's about connecting with people.
And the ways to do that haven't changed for thousands of years. Be honest in what you do. Don't waste time. Show us something we've never seen before. And let us see who you really are.
So to help with all this, we put together the Viral Video Toolkit for Nonprofits, a step-by-step look at the entire process. And thanks to support from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, it's available online as a free download starting today.
And thanks to the foundation, for sure. And we have some hard copies are down in the lounge, so feel free to pick it up. I think it's about 80, 85 pages. It's a very detailed step-by-step guide. And we're doing a session tomorrow morning in this hip cinema downstairs for those of you who want to explore this more specifically with the projects that you're working on.
So the tools are in your hands. So go out and capture moments of simple, unforgettable humanity.
Now go out and start your own epidemics to change the world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Here's the viral video I want to say. I want to say John Kelly in the Oval Office talking Trump out of tweeting. And then Trump puts the phone down and he goes like that. That would be amazing. Oh my God. What time are you guys tomorrow? You're in the first recess? Is that what? Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, following up with some more stories. Founder of the advertising agency Story Worldwide and partner and co-founder of A More Perfect Story, Kirk Chaffetz is a master in non-traditional advertising. Not only is he in advertising, he was a journalist who won a Pulitzer, or he's a Pulitzer finalist for investigative reporting at the Detroit Free Press and a finalist in the National Magazine Award. He's also a longtime member of the Global Advisory Board at the Wharton School's Future of Advertising program. He's here to talk about failing to form a more perfect union, our fault. I can't wait to hear this, is Kirk Chaffetz.
Felix in a stable descent.
This sort of demonstrates that there is synergy at Frank, but not necessarily unanimity. Because I'm here to say that was a slightly longer piece of really a very long story that Red Bull told in 2012. And they could have given you an ad message, right? They could have said, buy a can or something simple like that, or we give you a boost, but instead they chose to tell what was really a long-form, daredevil, adrenaline-fueled tale about Felix jumping 24 miles into nothingness and breaking the sound barrier. Now, it was the perfect story for Red Bull because it was really, it encapsulated, right, how they think their customers want to feel. Pretty beautifully. It was sort of a dream of every Red Bull drinker to do that. And also the feeling that Red Bull allegedly gives you. And the screen behind me really illustrates, I think, how talking points and messages stack up against what Red Bull did with the audience. The question is, at this moment when talking points and messages and traditional advertising is really failing us, really tanking, why aren't we telling more stories, more involving emotional stories? I ask myself often, what are we putting out there? Is it mythic unifying tales? Or is it talking points that ask me to make a choice and really just help polarize the people in the audience? Our goal, theoretically, is to create a better world. And our Constitution actually begins with the statement that we organize this country to create a more perfect union. But if we look around the world right now, especially our world in America, against that goal, what we see is that we seem to have fucked it up completely. So I would say if that's the goal we want, then there's about 5 things we need to change about how we all, me too, approach the world. And that begins with this. We have to move from those kind of soul-destroying talking points to real stories. This is Exhibit A behind me. It's Hillary Clinton's website, her current website, and it says it's her vision for America, and I went there because I ran across something that said, see her exciting vision. Right? I could see you're all just as excited as I was. There were, this turns out to be 41 talking points. I couldn't read them all, but I counted them. So let's kill this stuff off, and if we're going to have a vision, let's have a real vision. And the way we do that, I think, number 2, is first we've got to be audience-centric, right? We really aren't thinking about the audience enough. We come out of a tradition of advertising, most of the sort of formal communications, that was about jamming messages, our messages, down people's throats. It's good for them, eat this. It doesn't work well, it especially doesn't work well in a digital world where everybody is equipped with this amazing array of tools that can block anything, avoid anything, and banish anything forever if it's not what they want to hear. So we really need to quit looking at our consumers as consumers, at our people as voters. They're not one-dimensional. We can't just look at that singular behavior. We really need to hear their personal narratives and put the audience first. One big step, and this is point number 3, is listening before talking. And you've heard this before today, but again, all of those web-based tools that allow our audiences now to ignore us completely empower us not to ignore them. And we really ought to use those tools, not just to see what people are saying on social media, but all the tools that are available to track their buying habits, to look at what's important to them, to see what their relationships are like, what they care about, to understand their everyday narrative, so that we can tell stories that are really relevant to them and seem to come out of their reality, not just our own. Number 4. A key to that is to skip these rational top-down pronouncements and understand and embrace the primacy of emotion in everything that we do. I used to tell my clients, some of them very big clients, God bless their souls, nobody ever bought anything for a rational reason. It's simply true. It's true of cornflakes, for damn sure. It's really, really true of things like justice and a candidate or a cause. If it doesn't move you, it ain't going to happen. So let's tell the emotional stories. And then, really, this is so critical to me. And it touches the work that Chelsea Shine was talking about earlier, one of our 3 scientists in competition. Our pollsters are so adept at finding the tiniest differences that separate us. And yet, if you ask them, but what holds us together? What makes us the human race? What do we have in common? There are no answers. They're not even looking for that information on the whole. So my question is, how does that build the 60 to 70% majorities that really change nations, looking at how we're polarized from one another? How does it inspire those who seek to belong? How does it do anything to create a more perfect union? It just pulls us apart. So we've got to, please, everyone who pays a pollster, tell them first thing in the morning, you want data on what makes us a community. You want data on how all of this fits together. Stories have always been the content of our culture, and we have some incredible stories like the Odyssey from oral tradition and the Exodus story from the Bible that have lasted literally for millennia, that have served multiple purposes, that have formed and reformed people into powerful groups, changed nations, shifted the culture. It is amazing to me that we don't tap into these sources of power, look for them actively when we tell our stories, that we don't use them to summon community from all the divergent groups that we are. Frankly, I think that if we're going to make America a better place, and God knows America needs to become a better place quickly, we have to understand that only people make change. That stories are the very best tools available to us to make those changes, to activate those people, and we've got to invest more in stories and in storytellers. This is a map to Story, Indiana. It's been doctored a little to become a metaphor. There's no doubt that stories work. The real question, I think, is how do we find a methodology that allows us to use stories reliably, to find the stories that can knit together disparate groups, the most powerful stories to build relationships. And somebody had to do that, and that's what my partners in A More Perfect Story and I have been working on separately for roughly 15 years each. We're not precious about it. We want to share it. We're having a workshop on it right after this, and I invite everybody to come because I think if we do these 5 things, right, if we tell the right stories, number 1, if we put the audience first every single time, if we listen always before opening our mouths and shouting our own messages or telling people what's important, if we listen to what's critical to them, if we embrace emotion and are openly emotional with people about the things we care about, and finally, if we look for these common elements, if we look to build the biggest, most inclusive community we can, we'll get to that more perfect union. So thank you very much.
And more drunk girls and puppies. I feel like that is what brings us together, watching drunk people with animals. Or just interspecies love. Don't you just love when like there's the lion with the giraffe and they're just laying? Are those real? Is that real or photoshopped? Am I a sucker? They're real? Can we say they're real? Okay. Guys, it's time for recess. How do you feel? Do you feel inspired for recess? I'm excited for you. All right, recess. Couple things before you go. Look at your feet. Regardless of whether you brought it in, if there is garbage, could you pick it up and take it out? I would love you forever. Second of all, you know where to go with recess. The people will be outside. You know where you want to go. We're not coming back, but there's things happening tonight. In case you didn't know, I'm doing a comedy show with the fantastic Ian Harvey, who is in the audience with us tonight. And Jeff Chrysler is going to pop on stage too, speaking tomorrow. It's a whole comedy party you didn't even know about. That's happening tonight at the High Line, 7 o'clock. Be there. I don't know where you get tickets. High Dive. I'm sorry, at the High Dive. Where do you get tickets? Okay, second floor of the something. What? Second floor of the Hampton Inn. Tickets are cheap. Get tickets. Come. It's going to be really fun. And then we're going to do a talk back. They're free? Oh, tickets are free? Oh my God, tickets are free. I don't even know. But it's going to be really fun because we're going to do our show, and then we're doing a talk back afterwards to talk about the work that we do at Lady Parts Justice. And also, I think we have a provider, a local provider. Amber, is that correct? Yes, a local provider here, and you'll hear about what the challenges are in Florida and in Gainesville for somebody who provides abortion care in this town. So it's going to be super fun. Yeah, I know, it's going to be great. Also, if you don't want to come and see me for some reason, you can go play games at First Magnitude. Games, always fun. Highly encourage it, but I highly encourage other stuff more. Also, if those two things don't interest you, the play here, the Royale, is supposed to be amazing, and there's tickets for that, so you can come to the Royale. You can play games, or do something else. So I'm just saying, take your pick. We start at 9 a.m. sharp tomorrow, so what time are we all going to be here? Sometimes I think you guys are just like with me, and then I'm just disappointed. I feel like your mom. It's like, yes, you're you're going to let me down in your teens. I was going to tell you a story about my gynecologist who became a clown. But maybe I'll open with that tomorrow morning, okay? Perfect. I think you guys are great. I'll see some of you tonight, and I'll see all of you tomorrow at... Thank you.